Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm Jeff Dover. With me is John Barbin. Let's talk football.
Yeah, we're doing our what we hope will be the college football playoffs versus what we think
Playoff special.
playoff special. So what we hope is going to happen versus what we think they're actually angling to make happen.
Mhm.
And first of all, this is an invitational right out of the gates. There's no such. This isn't a true playoff. Not like
No, like in other sports, everyone plays all the same opponents for the most part. Where you finish is predetermined, like who goes where in the playoffs.
Mhm.
And this is the only system where there's a some sort of vote on what people think, what the eye test, who deserves to be there, which is crazy because then it's, as we saw last year, there was an undefeated team didn't get to go, which is ridiculous.
And phrases like beauty pageant and style points. There's no other sport where that's a thing.
So you're right. It's an invitational. It's who happens to get invited, and it has, which and everyone was concerned that it would take away from the results on the field, which it hasn't in one respect, but has in others. You know what I mean? Like
And
the Ohio State-Michigan game is still really important, but Florida State went undefeated last year and didn't make the playoffs. So
and that was super controversial last year because Travis went out, the quarterback, and they thought, okay, we can't put a team in who's likely just going to get thumped because they're missing their quarterback. And that just shows you that they'll do whatever they want for. It's a TV product in the end, which is,
it is.
I enjoy watching it, so that's the whole point. So we'll see. So I just want to talk about what I want to see versus what I think is going to happen. So for me, I've got a few wagons. I'm wearing one of them. I want to see SMU in this thing, partly because of the Pony Express story, from being the only team to ever get the death penalty to coming all the way back in 30 years it's taken for them to come back to prominence. And it would be so awesome to see them make this playoff. Oh, the other thing, this playoff's going to last 1 year in this structure.
Yeah,
it's going to change immediately because they created this structure with the automatic bids when the Pac-12 is an actual conference.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? The Pac-12 still technically exists, even though it only has 2 teams.
Yes,
so
it does.
Does one of those 2 get in?
Nope.
So they've already changed it, right?
Well, because if, like you said, the way that the prediction right now in terms of who's going to make the playoffs is like Boise State, Ohio State, Miami, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Oregon, Ole Miss, Penn State, BYU, Alabama, Indiana, Texas, right? That's what it is, right? So even though there's at the top of the Pac-12 conference is 8-1 Washington State, they're not even in it, right?
Oh, they need to be in the top 12. Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and then Boise's going to get in because they have to put in one non-Power 5, which is not even such thing as Power 5s anymore.
Yeah, group of 5. Yeah, that's right.
Because when they created this thing, the Pac-12 was actually a conference. So it's so dumb. Anyways, so what I want to see is, and which is, I guess, possible, SMU can win the ACC, and their only way in is winning it because their ranking, the ranking they've given right now is not good enough.
No, if the playoffs started today, SMU would play Clemson in the championship game, and they absolutely.
Do you have the predictor open right now, or what?
No, I did some research, Barbin, because I'm a legit podcaster.
That's right.
And so I just went to the standings and took the top 2 teams of each division, and so if it ended today, these would be the teams that would play the championship game, right? Yep. So SMU is playing Clemson because SMU is still. Hold on, let me get this right.
Miami wouldn't even be in that?
No, we're not right. Well, not in the championship game because right now in conference, the SMU is 5-0 in conference and Clemson is 6-1. So that they're ahead of today. They're ahead of Miami. So, but Miami and Clemson might be tied at like 7-1 or something like that.
There's a bunch of tiebreak scenarios.
Well, there has to be because they didn't play each other. Right. So anyway, as of today, SMU is the only undefeated team in that ACC right now.
Conference undefeated.
So that means they'll play Clemson or Miami right now, like if it ended today, right? And so that absolutely SMU could get in.
Would you? Okay, so how about let's do this? Who do you want to see from the ACC?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to turn the question back to you. So you started this by what do you want to see,
All
right?
right.
And
So SMU's, yeah.
to summarize it,
Mhm.
you'd like to see other teams in it other than the usual Bama, the Ohio State, things like that.
Georgia. Yeah.
Right.
No, I don't want to. Yeah. I'm happy with a multitude of combinations other than the same old, same old.
Yes.
Wiki.
So either SMU or Miami out of the ACC making it would be something that's on our would like to see list.
Right. Other than Clemson all over again,
Yeah.
which Clemson's got way too many leaks. That ship is just not, it's
I
not
know
right.
they've played better. I think like there has been some improvement. So
Mhm.
I don't hate it if they made it in. But yeah, I'm with you though. In the what we want to see is SMU and or Miami in.
Mhm.
So and it's possible the ACC loser still gets in.
Mhm.
So
And then from the Big Ten,
yep,
I would be ecstatic if Indiana gets in.
yep.
And I'm assuming there's almost no way Oregon can blow it now. I'm assuming they're going to be in no matter how the rest of the season unfolds for them.
Yeah.
Um,
So as again, if the playoffs started today, the only undefeated conference teams in the Big Ten are Indiana at 7-0 and Oregon 7-0.
right.
So they would play each other, and if Indiana wins that, then they'd be in. And then you're right, Oregon, since they're ranked so high in the playoffs, even with one loss, they would still get in. But this is what's going to make it interesting because Oregon's going to have a loss to Indiana, and as of right now, Ohio State and Penn State are also both 8-1, right? So you'd have 3 8-1 teams or one loss teams in the Big Ten at that point,
Can
which
we
makes
end
it
up
interesting.
with 9 and how many they only play 9 conference games in the Big Ten? Can we end up with 4 teams that have a conference record of 8-1? I think we can.
Yes. Yes,
Man.
because the
And then we
Indiana
could
would
right.
have to lose to Ohio State, and Ohio State would have to win out, and which it's not
And then
only is
we
that probable, I'd say it's likely.
So we can end up with Oregon, Indiana, Penn State, and Ohio State all at 8-1 in conference and 11-1 overall.
Correct.
So would they just put all 4 of them in? Maybe, I guess.
Well, this brings up one of the things I was looking at, like, because here's how I was. Well, here, let's keep going with what you want to see in it.
All right,
We haven't
right.
got past the
So,
ACC,
okay.
so we got ACC. We want Indiana to win, which absolutely can.
Mhm.
They'll most likely be in the championship game. Although if they lose to Iowa State, it's going to make it tougher. So that's a big game this weekend, right?
Oh
Really
yeah,
big game.
yeah,
So, and what
yeah.
else would you like to
So
see?
I want to see Indiana in. I want to see Oregon in. I don't care if Ohio State is in or not because
Okay.
there's just so many opportunities for them to be in over the years. It
Hmm.
just to me it doesn't matter if they make this one or not.
Would you want Penn State or in more or less than Ohio State?
I will want just for the sake of something different, Penn State. But then my previous analysis of Penn State is they can't beat the big teams. So if they get placed in there and just get beat up by another big team, then what's the point putting them there? That's almost the Florida State argument from last year. Why put them in there if they're just going to
Yeah.
lose?
I've seen Penn State lose to Michigan and Ohio State multiple times. I would watch a Penn State Georgia or a Penn State Bama and see what happens. I don't know if it's just the good teams or if it's just something about those
It's
Ohio
good
State
teams.
Michigan.
It's his record against good teams
Yeah,
really bad.
I mean
Yeah.
it's that's so but I'd
Small
watch
games,
that game.
James. Small game, James.
I'd watch that game though.
Yeah.
I'd prefer, let me put it this way. I'd want to see Penn State Bama more than Bama Ohio State.
Yeah, only because of just
It's
seeing it all the
different.
time. Just
Yeah,
see it all the
exactly.
time. Even though
Exactly.
the last Bama Ohio State game was, they play good games, and same with Ohio State
Mhm.
Georgia. Some of those games have been outstanding. I just want to see something different.
Yeah, I'm
so
the same
sick of
as
seeing
you.
the same stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, Big 12. I want to see BYU just run the table and get in, but I really, really want to see Coach Prime in here. Actually, the thing I want to see more than anything is Colorado in here, just for the media storm and what that might do. Even if he gets smoked in the first round,
Yeah.
I don't care. It's just so much
Yeah.
fun to have them involved, and it's
Yeah.
so controversial, and he's done such a good job. Like 7-2 this year
Yep.
already is way beyond
That-
expectations.
And that's something that probably like he doesn't get that much credit because he's really polarizing. There's a large fan base that don't like him,
Right. Yeah.
But he inherited a 1 in 12 team or whatever that was bad. Like all over the field bad, right? Offense, defense, special teams. They had 5 wins or so, or 4 wins
4
last
last
year.
year. They're
Yeah,
already
and
up to 7
7
this
2
year.
right now.
Yeah.
Like that is an incredible turnaround. Like so.
But they're sitting here at 17. Their only way in is to win the Big 12. They're not going to get in that large bid. Even if they go 10-2, they're not getting put in at large.
No, and that's one other interesting scenario is if Colorado beats BYU and BYU's undefeated at the time. So that means BYU's going to have 1 loss. I don't know if they'd make it in either.
So Colorado could win the conference with a 10-2 record. BYU could end the season 11-1 with no conference championship game and get left out.
Yeah, because now you're weighing the 11-1 BYU to like the 9-2 or like 9-3 LSU or something, right? So
right, and I don't want to see a 3-loss team go in no matter where they come from.
That's what it's gonna. It would be pretty. I think it's for sure a 3-loss team is going to be in the conversation.
Oh yeah.
So whether or not they make it, I don't know, but it's going to be. It's going to be someone with 1 or 2 losses.
All right, so the 3-loss team I want in is South Carolina.
Ooh, that's a good one. I didn't see that one coming.
They're one of my wagons. That along with Vandy. Vandy can't do it, but South Carolina can. So and they have the offense isn't that good, but this could be 8-1 right now. They should have beat Bama and they should have beat LSU.
Well, listen, and then they've got a game against Missouri, who's ranked right now left.
Yeah.
A game against Wofford, and then at Clemson. If they beat Clemson and Missouri, like it's a pretty good resume because they, so.
So the only way that a bunch of chaos has to happen there, and the problem is they don't have tie breaks over certain other SEC teams. So it's a huge really, stretch for them to get in. But all hell would have to break loose in the SEC for them to have a chance, which kind of sucks. Yeah. If Army goes undefeated, do they go in? I guess so.
Yeah.
Because they have or is their conference? Is it going to be between them and Boise out of the group of 5?
Yeah, I guess that's whoever.
Because it'll be the highest ranked group of 5, and Boise's already 13.
Yeah,
and if they win,
and Army's 24.
Yeah,
and they don't. Well, let's see. Okay, so that's good. They've got who's Army playing next week? Notre Dame.
They have to beat Notre Dame to go undefeated.
And Navy, who's good too. So,
what are they in the American Conference?
Yes, they are.
Winning that, I don't think is going to outpace Boise winning the Mountain West because it is the highest ranked of the group of 5 that goes in.
Yeah. I mean, if Boise loses a game, then it absolutely could happen.
But it's automatic if the Boise wins the Mountain West.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because there's no way Army. I don't think they've set this up. Army ranked at 24th to ever catch Boise already ranked at 13.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the other thing. This is when if people say, well, it's based on ranking, but the rankings are arbitrary. Yeah. They're just placing these teams.
The Boise State has lost to Oregon, and they don't have a win against a ranked team, and Army would have 2 wins against ranked teams if this scenario happened.
Right. But they're still 10 spots apart 11 spots apart currently.
I guess they could move a lot. If they beat Notre Dame, they would jump a lot.
You think that would knock Notre Dame out completely?
They could go to 11 and Boise would be 13 or something maybe.
That's the other thing. Notre Dame, if beyond everybody else, this is the most purest invitational for Notre Dame since they don't have a conference or any of those other rules. They just sort of decide if they're in or not by where they want to rank them. So that's I'll take it or leave it. Notre Dame doesn't excite me to have them in there because there's enough flaws on this team that I don't think they're actually beating any of the top teams. They're to me, they're a little bit like a Penn State. Like they'll get invited in, but I don't think they're going to really compete. I think regardless if I want it, I think Alabama's going in, but the SEC representative I want in for sure is Ole Miss.
And South Carolina, like you said, yeah.
Well, the one that I think has a real shot at getting in, Ole Miss. South Carolina is a long, long shot, but that's the two.
Right.
The 2 I want out of the SEC, regardless of how many go, are those 2.
Yeah.
The ones I think are going are just the usual suspects. And I'll be happy if Tennessee gets in. That would be fun too.
Yeah, Tennessee. So there's a few teams like there's 3 1-loss teams right now in conference at the SEC, which is Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Texas. And Texas A&M and Texas are playing each other, so that's going to sort that part out. But if the playoffs started today, it would be, if the SEC championship game was this week, it would be Tennessee and Texas A&M, that's fun. That's different.
Yep. And the one thing I don't want to happen, which I think is Georgia's getting an at-large, which I don't think they deserve. I said this last week. They're playing badly enough that somebody else deserves a spot above them, but I think they're gonna do whatever they can to keep them in the rankings for the name brand of Georgia going in.
Well, right now, that was what the rankings were as of the most recent version, is they have Ole Miss above Georgia. So as an at-large.
11,
so,
and then Georgia's at 12 here.
Yeah.
So they're giving.
So they have Ole Miss ranked.
Ole Miss has got one more game. Georgia hasn't even played enough games to match them.
Yeah. So Georgia is Tennessee. That's a really big game this weekend. And then what is?
But that's the only big team left on their schedule. There's no more.
Correct. Yeah.
Everyone's got a weaker record, so I don't think that. And the remaining team, Tennessee's the last one that can boost Georgia.
Yeah,
but I think
because Ole Miss just has Florida and Mississippi State left. So
right, so they could end the season with the exact same record. But I guess
As of now, the Ole Miss is ranked higher. But yeah,
right, and then Ole Miss would go to the SEC championship game above Georgia, right?
Ole Miss wouldn't go to the SEC championship game because they got 2 losses, and right now Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Texas only have 1 loss. So they're
and it doesn't unfold.
Georgia.
And it doesn't unfold. Okay, so then it would be an at-large between the two. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So this factors in nicely to what we were talking about. What we want to see is Ole Miss get in, but like what could happen is Georgia
gets chosen above them, which I think would be a travesty given the beating Ole Miss put on Georgia.
Yeah.
What do you think of having Alabama in?
I would like to see the Bama that played LSU in the playoffs, right? But what I don't want to see is the Bama that played Vanderbilt or
South Carolina.
Yeah, or South Carolina,
or Tennessee.
Yeah,
just fumbling their way up and down the field with no coherent plan on offense.
Right. That's what. So if it's the good one, then great. But if it's I don't want to.
That's the other thing. They're also flawed. Like nobody. I mean, Oregon's the only team that looks like they got.
Yeah, and I'd argue
solid.
Texas is maybe in the same tier. They've really.
I don't think so.
They've manhandled people.
Yeah, but their record.
But
I was listening to another show that I think Cover 3 was talking about how when you now having the season to look back, their schedule's pretty weak. What's their signature win? Michigan.
Yeah. So they
Vandy.
Yeah. So they beat Michigan, Oklahoma, and Vandy. Yeah, you're right.
Their signature win is either Vandy or Michigan, which is not a signature win. Yeah. If anything, Fernelli said it. The strength of their schedule is a quality loss to Georgia.
Yeah,
and we've seen that Georgia isn't Georgia.
No,
this isn't what
Yeah, you're right.
Right. So if anything, I think Texas is a paper tiger here.
Yeah, could be. That also is another big game this weekend at Arkansas because they're over 2 touchdown favorites, but
they better show up.
Yeah, and they were saying that too, that Sam Pittman after a bye is pretty good too at home. So
I think the defense is real. Yeah, and the other thing is Oregon. Or just flipping back to the Big Ten for a sec, Oregon's getting healthy kind of at the right time. They're getting their star edge rusher back, and they're, I guess, our running back number 1 back. It's just whether or not they get Tez Johnson back, the number 1 wide receiver. But it doesn't seem like they've lost much without Tez Johnson there. It's just that's how much more powerful they can be if he's there too.
Mm-hmm.
But so at full strength, they seem like the obvious best team in the country. There doesn't seem to be a flaw on that team.
Sure. And just to throw out the same record thing, right? If we're talking about signature win, so they've beat Idaho, Boise State, Oregon State, UCLA, Michigan State, Ohio State. They won 32-31, right?
Mm-hmm.
Purdue, Illinois, Michigan, and Maryland. So their signature win is for sure Ohio State. And then after that, it's...
Well, at least they have
maybe
one
Michigan 2 or something.
They have a top 10 win.
Yes.
Like a for real, I think beating Ohio State's real. That's a real top 10 win. Georgia, I don't think has a signature win. And I don't think Texas has a signature win. And Alabama is so Jekyll and Hyde. You don't, I mean, I guess beating Alabama is a big deal regardless.
Yeah.
Like for anyone who's beat them. But at the same time, Alabama, boy, can they ever just put in. They can do this Georgia thing and put in a half game, or just lose it for a 10-minute stretch or a 5-minute stretch, or like the end of the first half against South Carolina, the end of both halves against South Carolina. Alabama did their hardest to give that game away.
Yeah.
So it's even beating them this year isn't as big of a deal as beating them in the past. So, I mean, I'm trying to think of whoever else I would want in here, but those are some of the ones that I think would be fun. Oh, the thing that I would love is Washington State to get in somehow. Like if they go 11-1, what do you do with them?
They're too far down. I don't know if they'd make it because every 2-loss SEC team would be ahead of them, right? So there's too much to overcome. But you're right. They don't have what's really hurts them is Washington's not good, right? Because that would have helped. They lost their only ranked game this season, which was Boise State at the time, and all they've got left is New Mexico, Oregon State, and Wyoming, right?
Yeah, so it's not a strong enough schedule, and Boise deserves to be above them as they are in the rankings. And Boise's only loss was close to Oregon. Like you could theoretically say they're right, should be much higher than they are, but strength of schedules do matter.
It's hard, and they're not going to get any favors really in the Mountain West Championship, which right now would be Colorado State. So who's 6-3 overall.
No, so. It's not going to strengthen their schedule at all. So
that's what the Army thing is interesting because it's got Notre Dame, they'll play Navy, and then in their championship game right now, if it was today, is Tulane, who's also ranked 25th because they're 8-2. So it's not bad. It's not, it's a colossal upset against Notre Dame. This is what it would have to take. Right?
It's too bad that this, I guess it's just awkward that this playoff is only going to be 1 year like this, given the fact that the Pac-12 dissolved. So they're already going to have to restructure this thing.
Yeah.
So this won't really be an indication of how it's going to proceed forward because things change so much.
Yeah.
The conference realignment changed so much from here to what's going to be even next year.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a one-off unique situation. The one thing I think NIL has been doing, it has been starting to level the playing field a bit.
Yep. And also between teams, but also people that would normally take a shot at being drafted and would not get drafted or picked up. Like they're good college players are staying longer because they can make money now. So some teams are also deeper because you're not losing that talent. So that's a good point.
And then the transfer portal also. Three things: NIL, transfer portal, and conference realignment seems to be flattening this all out. And everyone's quickly accepting that the SEC champ might be a 2-loss team. Like this idea that your final 4 are all going to be undefeated. I don't think we might get one undefeated here.
Maybe.
That's it. Oregon's, I think, the only team that has a shot. BYU does because their schedule is not hard enough. Like not like what they don't have to face a top 10 team for the rest of the year, right? They're just within their own conference, so they could go undefeated. But what I'm saying is we're not looking at it an FSU undefeated, a Georgia undefeated, an Ohio State undefeated that are all going to be there. We're going to get one. We're going to basically Oregon or Indiana, but Indiana also is a new player to the to the stage here.
That's true. No, I'd say BYU is Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston left. So
Arizona State's going to be hard there.
It is at Arizona State too.
They're playing well.
Kansas is nothing either, but it's not. BYU's going to be favored on all 3 games.
Yeah,
but
So I mean, who do you think is going to end up in there?
I mean, I think we pretty much covered it. Like it'd be would probably Georgia, like Ohio State somehow, like in things like that. But I'm hopeful. I think for the things that we want to see, I think some of them are possible, which is great because there's been times in the past where like you knew it was Clemson, Bama, Georgia, and then like one of 2 teams or something, right? So it feels like it'll be a little bit different this year. It's really different because there's that many teams in it, but there'll be some different teams represented, which is going to be good.
I mean, I'd love for the Final 4 to be South Carolina, Indiana, SMU, and Ole Miss.
Oh man, that's a good one.
again, I think or maybe Colorado. Like that would be so much fun to have just
Man,
completely.
you're that on to Colorado, eh? You like
I
the
think just because of the media circus, and specifically because Shadur is still there and Travis Hunter is still there, they're going to be gone next year.
Yeah.
But they'll
Yes.
be in the NFL
Yes.
next year. So the current like media storm of Colorado. You know, I just saw an article today saying Colorado is the only team that all 12 of their games are nationally televised.
No way, really?
They're just that big of a media darling.
Yeah.
Like people want to watch, even if you hate them, you still tune
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Like I bet you just as many people hate watch them as fun watch them.
Sure.
Which I think is bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't know why people are out to get Prime.
I mean, it's I could see somewhere, you know, again, we've talked about this many times on this program that, you know, the coaches and stuff, that's like it's about student athletes and you know, the sports is a great metaphor for life and they're trying hard and the results will take care of themselves and the things like that. And so to come in and say you're not good enough, like I'm coming for you, and then like to drop everyone and then just replace everybody, and you know, it's sort of, it can come across as a different message. Like it's not the cheating to winning because it was completely within the rules, but you know, like you've made commitments to people and we're going to develop you and develop you as young men. And then that just goes out the window. Like the
Well, he
second
didn't commit
someone,
to those guys.
what's that?
The 11-1 team that he got rid of, he didn't commit to those guys.
No, I know he didn't, but like they committed to Colorado, you know, and that's the,
Doesn't matter.
but
They
it's,
committed to
no,
a different coach.
listen, I get it. I'm, you know, I could just see how there's some people in college sports wouldn't like that, but
it could be that there was just way more visibility, and that same thing has happened in many programs where a coach comes in and says half of you aren't going to be here.
yeah, no,
Like
exactly. Like that was, you're right. But the difference was that he posted it on Instagram or whatever, like at the, you know, the day that he addressed them. So
it's such
yeah.
It's such an interesting way to do this, where it's so transparent and the cameras are. It's like a perpetual episode of Hard Knocks with them.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. And just people aren't used to it, which they don't like. But I think
it's awesome.
Yeah,
I wish Kiffin would do it, but some of these guys are like kind of sticks in the mud that you wouldn't want to see it.
Yeah, no,
like,
I remember
don't think
when
I want to see Kirby Smart doing that. Well, maybe Kirby Smart just gets too animated and doesn't want them to see it. Like Prime doesn't swear. Like he's kind of he has that like sort of, he won't make a mistake on camera that can't be put on camera, where I'm sure the other he's unique that way. Like he's got that, like he doesn't drink either. He doesn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's really
cat.
It is. He is a totally different guy, and he was a really, really, really good football player. Like Hall of Fame,
yes.
Right? And so that there's something, you know, that it's one thing if like just some middle-aged man yelling at teenagers like on the practice field or something, like this is coming, that mean like he's been there, he's been at practice, he's been, you know, and a lot of coaches have, but it's something, that's the one thing it is comes across different, at least with me, that when he does that. But anyway, no, it's I'll never forget the Colorado AD when they hired him at the time, because there's a lot of people who are sort of like, what the hell is going on? And the Colorado AD, they signed him, and he's like, right now we don't have enough money to pay him, like what I just agreed to for his salary. He's like, but we're gonna get it, you know, like this. And it was, which seemed like that was what a risk that was at the time, and how it's paid off for. This is the most relevant Colorado football has been in decades.
Totally. And I love that Warren Sapp's the D-line coach. I saw a little clip of him saying he'd never want a head coach. He's happy to be a position coach and get out of there. He doesn't want any of that other responsibility.
All that other stuff.
That has been a revelation how much that D-line has changed.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, who
offensive line, both of them.
Yes.
It was, and it would seem to sort of felt like it was overnight, because they were couldn't block anyone, couldn't stop anyone for all the game. And then all of a sudden, it's like that looked like a regular football team. So
and people are going to say, well, but he's just playing a Big 12 schedule, which is okay, fine. But I still want to see them. I still want to see them in just for the fun of having them in.
Yeah,
I wonder, is there any other high level, like high visibility ex NFL player who if they wanted to be a college coach the way Deion seems to want to stay there, who else could have that level of gravitas?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Who has that kind of media like all of that? Yeah. Maybe he's just one of one. I'm just trying to think of somebody else who's got all of that.
No, it's not. Well, there's not many. Yeah, it's not many. I can't think of any. Like there was in.
Oh, you know what it would be? It would be Barkley in basketball.
Yeah, that's
If
pretty. That's
yeah.
a really good comparison to that. I was going to say because there's in basketball there was Anthony Hardaway,
But
coached
I mean the
Memphis, but it's
overwhelming
yeah,
media personality.
yeah. No, you're right. That
Barkley is the
was
basketball equivalent. I can't think of
yeah.
another football one. There may be. I just can't think of one right now who's
Barkley,
like Mark
who actually ran for governor for Auburn, like the state of Alabama. Like I think he
Barkley
was.
did.
Yeah, no, he was in the. I got to look that up, but he actually he ran for some sort
Oh,
of.
you know who else could do it? Shaq. A lot of actually basketball personalities I'm thinking of who could probably do it.
Yeah.
If they had the desire to coach, I'm sure every kid would buy into
Yeah.
them as a head coach if they have the old school kind of mentality. Because
Yeah.
when you actually watch, at least if the media representations and all of the access that Dion provides, he does come across as your old school coach.
Yep. No, there's a lot of there has absolutely aspects of it that is like
And
the
as much as I hate those stupid sideline interviews, he gives good ones.
yeah.
He doesn't give the canned answer. He actually
No.
gives. He just lets you know how he's feeling, which I think is awesome. I think maybe I'm appreciating the candor and not the canned response, not the Nick Saban stoic.
Yeah.
Like you're just not getting anything out of them.
No.
Like
Yeah.
I'm starting
No,
to
you're right.
appreciate guys like Kiffin more and more. And it's maybe we've just forgotten this was Spurrier.
That's
Like
true.
these are the new Spurriers, right? Like Spurrier was the journalists loved it because you just knew you were getting something awesome, something quotable, and he'd say everything that all the other coaches were like, you don't
Can't
say
spell
that.
Citrus Bowl without UT. That was one of my
it was
favorite lines.
it's just he was the best. He was the first of this, and everybody loved them. And I'm not just being a Florida homer. Everyone knows this. He was so much fun.
No,
like
for
he
sure.
was so much fun. But compare that to, I don't know, what would you get out of, I don't know, Ryan Day or James Franklin? You're just not getting anything.
No,
this
Kirby
much fun.
Smart or any of them.
No, they're amazing coaches, but it's just the fact that this program is about entertainment. It's like we discussed the entertainment value of football, and you can't beat that level of entertainment with those type of animated coaches. And it's even better when they're on the national stage winning.
Yep.
I mean, just put the
for sure.
Signetti's got a little bit of this.
Yes. In him. Oh yeah. No, he'll
come
good.
Right out and say they suck. We're going to beat them, and that's that. Like I kind of like that. Like maybe that's the changing of the guard. Maybe that's where this is headed.
Hopefully,
because the kids probably relate to coaches who just have that degree of borderline arrogance. They want to follow somebody who's compelling like that. Obviously, not that Kirby Smart isn't, but this works. This kind of Kiffin Dion thing also works.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I think it's the relating to this generation of 18-year-old like that the old way stoic, that kind of a thing, I feel like would be harder than how like you said, like Signetti and stuff now.
Yeah. Anyways. Well,
all right. So that's what we want to see in the playoffs, what we expect to see. And it's, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to change a lot after this weekend. That's going to determine some things. The conference championship weekend is going to be big. There's the next couple of weeks are really big. College football.
Really big. All right. Well, that's we just wanted to give our thoughts on that, and give us a note in the comments of who you want to see in, and give us your dark horse or your one that's not obvious that you would really enjoy, and not your team, but out of the 12, like there are a couple of teams you really want to see in just for the entertainment factor and the fun factor. All right. We'll catch you guys next time.